they don't prepare you enough for the real world.
Somewhere I feel like I'm at the cookout. I hate to bring it up, but as you can see, our vice president is a Howard University grad.
Code switching, yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah, boy.
Welcome to another episode of Real Talks. We're still in Black History Month, so it's still Black History Edition. This is actually going to be the last episode of Black History Edition for this year. But every February, we're going to start doing Black History Edition Real Talks, and we're just going to keep on dropping knowledge and gems about, Black history and, where we're going as a Black community. Today, we have Malaya here, Malaya M.O.O.N. Pretty much me and Malaya, we used to go to the same career academy. That's where we met. We became friends. And she currently goes to Howard. So, this is about the HBCUs. But I'm going to let her go ahead and introduce yourself, Malaya.
Hi, everyone. My name is Malaya M.O.O.N. I'm a sophomore computer science at the illustrious Howard University. And I am from Athens, Georgia.
What can they find you on Instagram,
My Instagram handle is Malaya Javiera. It's spelled MALAYAJAVIERA.
And what's your major?
I'm a computer science major.
All right, and then we're probably getting this a little deeper in the conversation. But what do you plan on doing like after you graduate from Howard?
I'm actually going to be commissioning into the United States Army, hopefully to work in their intelligence or cyber command division.
Okay. So pretty much, like you said, you go to Howard, which is a HBCU. So let's just talk about like, how does it feel to be a part of a HBCU? Let's start there.
How does it feel? I would definitely say something I love about HBCUs is the culture and the family environment, and like being able to meet people who look like you, but they still come from very diverse backgrounds, which is something that I didn't really grow up with. So being able to have that college experience around people I can relate to, but also gain a different perspective from is very valuable.
Give an example of a like different background. I just don't know what you mean by that.
Okay. So like a lot of people be like, oh, HBCUs aren't that diverse. But when you look at Black people, you don't just look at African Americans. Black people are not just African Americans. They're people from all over the world that consider themselves Black. So for instance, I have a lot of friends who are actually have Filipino and Black that go to Howard University.
Yeah.
And are also computer science majors too. And I have other friends who are from like Grenada, Jamaica, Nigeria, Ghana. So it's really all over the world, really. I met some people who are from Spain.
Oh,
yeah, it's kind of crazy.
So diversity is one of the misconceptions about HBCUs. And we're going to get into misconceptions a little later. But so like, a lot of people actually think that HBCUs can't be, as diverse as they are. Interesting. Yeah. So like going to a HBCU and then also Howard, like, Howard in itself, like how does it feel to be a part of Howard? You're in Washington, D.C. You probably see more than the average person see, throughout your time. So how's that?
Definitely met a lot of celebrities.
Have you seen Nick?
I have seen Nick Cannon. We have freshman year, first semester, we had class in the same building. We had it was different class, like he was in a different class, but it was in the same building as my class at the same time. So I would see him all the time when I was on my way to class, chopping it up with other professors and stuff like that in the hallways. I remember when I first seen him, I was just like, hey, yo, what up, Nick? It's Nick. Hey, hi, how you doing? I was like, good.
Cause I watched Cannon's class, so he always bring up him going to Howard and going to be an alumni and stuff like that. So that's interesting. But what made you decide to join the HBCU, like versus the standard PWIs and private colleges? Well, are HBCUs private?
No, that's a good question. Not all of them. Some of them are public and some of them are private. Howard is private, but
Yeah, okay.
we get some type of grant through the government. So like we're federally funded as well because of
Okay.
something that happened way long ago. But this is not a history lesson. um, what was the question again?
What made you decide between going to a
Okay,
HBCU
yes.
versus a PW?
Um, a lot of other people when they get asked that question, they they usually say something along the lines of the fact of being around people that look just like them. It's partially that for me, but also I wanted to be in an environment where I am treated as such as other students.
Uh-huh.
But no matter if they look like me, no matter if they're the same exactly like me, if they're African American or mixed or whatever,
Yeah,
like I'm in an environment now where like I'm actually judged based off my skill sets and how I present myself, and
yeah,
not the color of my skin or my background, like where I grew up,
yeah,
stuff like that. I definitely grew up very poor, to be honest. So going to a school where my background and people not looking less on me because of where I come from definitely is something I'm glad to be around,
yeah.
environment like that. But also Howard itself is
Mhm.
very they have a lot of trailblazers. And one day I want to be a trailblazer myself, as well as the history of the things they did for African Americans in the military. Like we're one of the very first programs, Army ROTC programs, to host African American cadets and train them to be officers in the Army, military, even Air Force too.
Yeah,
Um, Also, the fact it's in DC, which is very great for me as a person who wants to eventually be working in the government and stuff like that. I get hands-on experience. I meet a lot of people in high positions in government as well as the military. Like
that's a major. That's good.
yeah, when I was a freshman, I got to meet the command sergeant major of the Army while I was out with my unit. We were out rucking, like it's marching, like the little bags on our back and stuff. So we
Yeah,
got to meet him. We took a picture of him and everything. It was just so crazy because, like, if I were to go anywhere else, like anywhere but somewhere that's not in DC, I wouldn't be able to have the exposure and network opportunities like I'm having now that will eventually help me in the future when it comes to my choice of career.
yeah. Interesting. Earlier you had said, even though you didn't choose Howard based off of, not alone just wanting to be around people, of color and stuff, but also, just be the way you're treated is stuff, the same respect that other folks get. I will say I do go to Kennesaw, and although some PWIs, can be majority. What did you had said something the other day we was on the phone? What did you call
Yeah,
instead of saying PWI? You said P
PBIs, which
PVI.
is
Yeah,
primarily Black institutions,
yeah, because
which means they are historically white, but at the given time, it's majority Black.
I will say Kennesaw, to be classified as a PWI, has a lot of diversity involved. We're going to Howard, and that's for one, going to a HBCU is like a big like a leadership role pretty much, because for one, like you're kind of sort of stepping outside of the norm. A lot of people just choose to go to PWIs because they get more opportunity, they might get more scholarships and stuff like that. But then aside from that, like what else do you want to do, like post graduating, as far as like on the leadership side, like yeah, what's your purpose for that?
Yes. So,
You had kind of brought it
no,
up, but
yeah,
like
as you know, I'm going to be soon to be an officer in the
yeah,
military. So that's leadership thing one. But the military is not really my end goal.
okay,
I really want to. I don't know what to say exactly. That's when I'm not going to really give specifics yet.
mm-hmm.
But I really want to be able to have a career where I make the biggest impact. Because at the end of the day, I definitely realized going to a HBCU and being in the Army RTC program that it's bigger than me.
Yeah,
What I'm doing does not just affect me; it affects everyone around me as
especially the next
well.
generation.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to work for NASA. for me.
Okay.
Yeah. And a lot of people y'all know Katherine Johnson from the Hidden Figures movie. I actually knew who she was before the movie because she's one of the people that inspired me the most, right beside Maya Angelou. Um, and she was very inspiring because she was one of the very few people who look like me that got to be in a room where it happened, where you can make an impact, where it makes a difference.
Yeah.
So I started interning with NASA, and the
How
other
long you been
day,
interning with them? Just wondering.
2 semesters, so summer semester and this current spring semester. And the other day we just got the Mars rover to land on Mars.
Yeah, I saw
It's
that.
so crazy to have something that you help create and help put out into space actually do what you set out for it to do, and making that next step, and eventually to a point where like it feels like I am also able to break those glass ceilings. And
Yeah.
it's one thing to
I mean, you already done broke a lot. Just you haven't even graduated though. So like
yeah.
leadership at its finest already. And then you say you got a lot of things coming, and some you just want to hold on to right now. But it does go towards like helping the next generation, just helping like build.
Let them know that there's a lot more out there they could do
Yeah,
anything they really want to do, and it doesn't have to be what's in front of you.
yeah. So earlier, we had kind of touched on the misconceptions about HBCUs. Um, so I just wanted to clear up some misconceptions. I do have a couple that I've heard. Like you said, the lack of diversity. Then some people say they don't prepare you enough for the real world. Is that how true is that? Or like true,
I
false?
mean, like, you asked me this question and I just told you I'm working for NASA and I'm
That's
still in school.
yeah. So like I don't know where that misconception comes from, because obviously you can get internships from going to a HBCU. So
Like,
like
a lot of companies, for one, especially now, are sought after looking at students at HBCUs because we do bring a different skill set to the table. And one thing I do like about going to HBCU, especially Howard, is that my professors, they could be teaching me about politics, like intro to poli sci, but that's not the only thing I'm gonna learn in their class. They're gonna make sure I'm learning some valuable life lessons and actually seeing the bigger picture of how all of these different studies, different disciplines connect, and how it all plays a part in the world we currently live in. So
yes,
I feel like going to HBCU is very beneficial for someone like me, um, because of the fact that a lot of times growing up, people told me, "Oh, you're not gonna be able to do that. You're not gonna be able to do this." Now
yeah,
I'm in an environment where everybody's rooting for me to do things, be even greater, and be able to raise up to that next level.
yeah,
And as you can see, I hate to bring it up, but as you can see, our vice president is a Howard University grad.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, she is. She
So
is.
I feel like even if that did not happen, there are so many people from HBCUs who are making changes in this
Yeah,
world
definitely.
on a very giant level and a very big stage at that. Georgia turned blue
That's
for the
true.
first time in like years. And that was because of a lot of HBCU alumni. Let that sink in. So I very much think that HBCUs do prepare you for the real world and then some.
So okay, one thing that people say is like the professionalism part isn't is the part that they're missing for preparation to the real world. Like being able to talk to the preppy people sometimes. Being able
Code
to
switching.
huh
That talking about code switching.
code switching. Yeah, that's what it's called. So like, because some people, in all honesty, I've like miss people say like HBCUs can be ghetto sometimes, or be so like
I feel like I see where you're coming from and why people might say things like that, but it's all about how you look at the what's in front of you and your perspective
yeah,
and
I
what
think it's all about
you
perspective.
know, instead of you actually being there in the atmosphere.
Yeah, yeah, you
And
right.
one thing is HBCU allow us to fully, truly be ourselves as individuals, as a person who identifies Black or any other minority, even white people that go to HBCUs, they feel like they can just really be themselves because
Yeah.
it's not a place where I would expect to get judged a lot. It's like
Yeah.
I said, it's very family oriented.
Yeah.
And with that being said, code switching is something we have to deal with a lot because if I were to fully be myself out there in certain industries and certain rooms and talk a
Mhm.
certain way where people don't understand my dialect as someone who grew up the same as me would,
Yeah.
that's where code switching comes in. And it's I like to, how should I put this, I like to put it as something like a skill set that people need, but at the same time you also have to look at that as like how much are you willing to be in an environment so much that you have to not truly be
Well,
yourself.
it when you think about it, it's just like um being able to like peep the scene and like I guess like you said, code switch to fit in the scene. You know, like of course you're not gonna talk to a group of high business owners, like how you talk to your friends, how you talk to me, you know, stuff like that. So I guess that's the part some people say you don't get the best preparation for because it's like you're always in an environment where it's kind of you know, you just you know, you around people that's gonna you can talk to like, you know, like regular.
We definitely have, I see what you're saying, but we definitely have professional development days, workshops, all that jazz. And when people come on campus that like work in different industries and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that,
Look,
political,
these are just misconceptions. I'm just
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like people think so much about students at HBCUs, but never really fully take out the time to see
yeah,
their perspective of things or actually even try to be in the atmosphere, even if it's just going on a tour
yeah.
at HBCU or just being on campus for one day. So like, yes, we do have times where it gets a little bug wild, but
It's,
I definitely do know how to be able to code switch in, be able to know how to talk to people in power in these
yeah,
leadership positions in a way where they will respect me for who I am and
yeah,
as a person and not look at me, like I said before, color of my
yeah.
skin. And shoot, I could be at a Darty one night or one day and the next day I'm at a career fair.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's yeah, I get that. So lastly, last one that I seen was like people say HBCUs can hold you back from opportunities. Even though you got the NASA internship, you have the NASA internship, but like people say sometimes you know writing an HBCU on your resume can actually be a like a downfall more than a plus because like sometimes people don't want it. Yeah,
So I've have heard from other students and a little bit from my experience too that interviewers sometimes like look at you and be like, "Oh, you went to HBCU,"
yeah,
and already have an idea of how you will perform in that interview.
yeah,
Especially for my tech and STEM people,
yeah, yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
sure.
And I personally haven't dealt with that a lot as much as my peers have, but
Mhm.
it's definitely something that is going on that definitely needs to be talked about because
Because that's one of the things that scare people to go to HBCU because you know you don't want to miss out on opportunities that could you know set you up for your future and
you also got to look at it like this. If they already have an idea, if these people already have an idea of who you are solely by the name of this, maybe not even knowing the name of your school
yeah,
because it's not a Ivy League or
you shouldn't
any
be
other top school
yeah
in the country or world or whatever,
you shouldn't be
maybe those not the people you should be around.
yeah you're right you're right
Exactly. So it's really how you look at things. And I will never regret my HBCU experience. I mean, I'm only a sophomore, but still, I will never regret going to a HBCU.
yeah
I will never regret the decisions I made up until this point because I knew where I decided to go, which is where Howard, of course, and where I'm at currently and how successful I've been because of the people who have been supporting me at this HBCU,
Yeah.
that I know exactly what my future looks like and what might be expected of me from some people
Yeah.
because of what I identify as and all that, and what I see myself as. This is what matters.
Yeah.
I see myself at, and not those people.
So
So
since you brought that up, that was actually going to be my next question. So like, what made you choose Howard aside from other HBCUs? You know, you got Clark Atlanta, you got Florida A&M, you got South Carolina. Yeah.
at North Carolina Central, Tuskegee,
Yeah.
Spelman too.
And so,
So you well, you know me, we grew up pretty much together.
so yeah, I mean, even though I know, so Howard's always
Yeah.
been part of, Malaya's dream pretty much. So like, why has Howard always been a part of like what you plan to do?
I'm gonna put it like this. I was a kid that grew up in an area where there wasn't many opportunities for STEM or college prep. I kind of had to go out there and get it.
Yeah.
And I was blessed to be admitted into UGA's trio upper bound program into
That's
my 10th grade year. And they allowed me to be able to go on tours and see all these different colleges and stuff.
Mhm.
And being on UGA campus a lot, maybe one of the reasons why I'm not going to UGA right now, I realized that like it's one thing to be like, okay, I'm gonna go to a school at home, and there's still a lot of opportunities schools in Georgia can offer. I'm not going to discredit that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because I knew I wanted to be able to get out there and see the world and be able to do different things, being in a different setting and being able to experience stuff that I probably would have never experienced if I stayed in Georgia, that
Yeah.
was kind of the main driving force for me to go to school out of state. Because I didn't want to basically sell myself short by staying close to home.
Yeah.
Like I actually do go home a lot. I, but being able to go to a school in a different area,
Yeah.
different state, well, technically DC is not a state, but
I mean, it's
being
not.
able to go somewhere out of state
Yeah.
has allowed me to experience a lot more things if I were to stay in Georgia. And my mom actually was one of the main people pushing me to go out of state because she knew that would be good for me to have that experience as
Yeah.
well.
I will say, for the people who like look at out of state tuition and be like, nah, I'm just find something in state. I'll say like try to get out of state and don't limit yourself to just your state and the colleges around because you're I mean it's a whole world out there that you can
Yeah.
go to college
Don't
at.
get me wrong; those out of state tuitions do be high.
Yeah.
I go to Howard, which is a private institution, so everybody pays the same.
Yeah.
But I am not even gonna lie, I was kind of a little bit stressed because I honestly did not know how I was going to pay for it. But I really just dig deep, search for all the different scholarships that were out there. I didn't get all the scholarships that I applied for. I did get some, which have helped me along the way. But I also was able to secure a 4-year scholarship from Howard that basically gets renewed as long as I keep a certain GPA,
GPA.
which
Yeah.
that's not a problem. I
Hey,
always been
speaking
good
of
at that.
scholarships is important for the people
Yeah,
going to college.
scholarships and
I
grants.
personally,
So
I procrastinate filling out scholarships, but yeah,
if I don't say nothing else, if y'all remember nothing else I say during this video, is to fill out your FAFSA the first chance you get. The moment it comes out,
because
get
that they look at that's how you get the most money by filling out the fastest. Make
Yep.
sure you do that. I haven't really spoke on this a lot, but pretty much I might actually end up going to Howard for my master's. I'm not gonna speak on it, that much, but
Okay.
you might see me there.
Period. SOC, they love it. Everybody
Yeah,
is
because for one, watching Cannon's class just makes me more inspired to want to go to Howard because it just sounds good.
that's something else, I tell you. And I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
so like the last thing I want to touch on real quick is so my friends has this podcast called To Each His Own, and they talked about, HBCUs, like student athletes coming back to HBCUs, because it's like, most of the time you see people wanting to go to Duke, go to Michigan, go to the bigger, schools for
There's
sports,
schools that will give them more
more opportunity, more
exposure,
stuff. Yeah,
television.
but like
Yes.
we need our athletes back at HBCU. So like, we're gonna touch on that real quick. Like how are the sports at HBCUs right now, or at how?
I would say at Howard, I'm not really into the whole sports
Oh,
scene like that. Like I would go to more basketball games than I would football games. Our volleyball team is actually really dope. I heard a lot of great things about them. So shout out to the volleyball team and our soccer teams as well. But Howard has a lot of different teams, and we actually just started our golf team with the help of Stephen Curry. He
oh,
donated
wow.
money to support the program for the next few years, which is actually
Wow.
amazing. He did that last year, like my last school year. Yeah, he was on campus working out the paperwork and things for that. So I think that's going to be actually really cool to see that blossom.
Yeah.
But here's my take on student athletes coming to HBCUs and actually wanting to go to HBCUs.
Yeah.
This is my opinion. I'm not saying you got to
Yeah.
believe this. Anybody got to believe this. This is
It's
my
real talks. The way one of my like sayings is like, everything we say is opinionated, but like it can contain truth in it. So listen closely. Now let's get real. All right, go.
Be real. As a student athlete, it might look very enticing to go somewhere where you know for sure you'll get the exposure. You know for sure they might have the best facilities or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it,
They might have the recruiters coming every game.
recruiters and everything. But if you know that your talent is good, your talent will push you through to the
Yeah.
next level, whether that be like going to the NBA, NFL, or anything like that.
Yeah.
And you really want to go somewhere where you feel appreciated all around and not just looked at greatly because you're a student athlete,
Go to an HBCU.
HBCU.
So in my friend's podcast, they said the podcast once again is called To Each His Own. Make sure y'all go subscribe to their channel as well for more information about that. But like they talk about if the stars, it's like Sharif Cooper, Mikey, say if they was to go to a HBCU and like say if they was able to get their friends to go to HBCU as well, then they'll get the more they'll get more looks towards HBCUs, and maybe even like for one, they already got spots to go to the NBA as well, because they're talented. So it's like going to HBCU wouldn't really be a downfall for them, but they can really help more people by doing that.
Yeah, if you look at the Hall of Fame of these different professional sports, you'll see a lot of those Hall of Famers did go to HBCUs and did play at HBCUs.
Yeah.
So it's not a downfall, like you said, it's not a downfall to go to a HBCU.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like if more student athletes come, and those 5-star recruits or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
I mean, we just secured one for basketball. I can't remember his name off the top of my
I
head,
can't say
but
it.
yeah, I don't remember his name. But yeah, we're definitely getting a lot more attention on us now more than ever because of these top athletes coming out of high school actually looking at HBCUs. I'm not saying they're coming to HBCUs, but they're giving these HBCUs a chance.
Yeah.
So what I would really like to
That's
see,
a start.
yeah, I would really like to see this grow into something bigger. And at the end of the day, I will want another student. My advice to a student athlete would be go where your gut says. Go
Yeah.
where you fell in love with the environment, the campus, the people there. Don't go where everybody else telling you should go.
Yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a lead. Somebody's gonna step up and be that leader pretty soon, hopefully, and give HBCUs the attention they deserve as far as like athletes, because that is where it started. It started with us, with most of really all of the sports in all honesty. But another thing like that's brought up with HBCUs is their culture. And you had brought this up earlier, and one of the things y'all have, like, you know, HBCUs is famous for is the band. And
Yeah.
you know,
I've seen our band in the inauguration. I know y'all seen them.
so like I don't know. That's one of the things that, you know, shines on HBCUs is their band. So like, how's that culture like, and how does it get that?
I growing up, I've always loved music. You know me. I can get down, I can dance. I do all that. So going to a school where the band, it does the band, like the size of the band does not matter. It
Yeah,
is quality of the band. And going to a school with a
quality over
great
quantity.
quality, exactly. A great quality band, it just hypes you up more into that whole school spirit and
Yeah,
sisterhood,
that's true.
brotherhood, all that and
It
above.
just feels more like a family type,
It
you
just
know.
feels somewhere. I feel like I'm at the cookout.
For real. Yeah. That's one thing I
Yeah.
do wish, you know, I had at my school. Just like a culture band, you know. Um, but yeah, that's cool though. And then
Love it.
pretty much, so like after graduating, you're gonna pretty much be an alumni of Howard. So how does that feel? Like, you know, being able to say you graduated from Howard, you know, you did how many more years you got?
Two,
Two, two
two
more
more
years. So
years.
yeah, you got your degree, and
Yeah.
then, you know, how does that
Yeah.
feel? Excitement, you know?
That's gonna be so crazy because for one, I'm actually a first generation college student. So
Oh,
not only am I the first one out of my family to go out of state, but I'm
wow.
also one of the very
You're the
few.
first for like a lot.
I'm a lot of firsts, which
Yeah.
is very interesting to me, and I take a lot of pride in that. But it's also very stressful and a lot of pressure as well to be great and to do great. Which I know a lot of my peers feel the same pressure with their families who are also first generation college students who
I
are
will say
also
going to
going
college is a
through
lot of pressure. Yeah.
all. So I would be so proud of myself to be able to say I did it, I finished, I did something that a lot of people probably never seen me being able to do. And something I know I deal with imposter syndrome sometimes, and it's just crazy. But honestly, you gotta stop listening to that voice in the back of your head that keeps telling you can't do it, and
Yeah.
listen to those folks that are always bringing negativity around. Because at the end of the day, if you're doing what you love and you're doing what you sought out to do, then you're doing great. You need to
That,
applaud yourself for that because not a lot of people can be able to motivate themselves to elevate to the next level.
dude.
So that's something major, and hopefully I can
You are
inspire.
your biggest motivator. Don't forget that, you know. Like,
Um,
you have everybody telling you like you can't do this, you can't do that. As long as you know you can do it in your heart that this is what you want to do, then go for it. Like, for real.
exactly. Yep. I
Um, so like, is there any? I know we talked about the misconceptions earlier, but before we end, I just want to make sure we cleared up all the misconceptions about HBCUs. So we talked about lack of diversity. We talked about, you know, the professionalism of being ghetto and like it being like being able to hold you back. Those are all really you pretty much they're pretty much false. You know, you can go to HBCUs and just be as great as going to a PWI. But is there anything else?
I think we pretty much covered it, but to summarize all of that up, misconceptions and all, is that if you're listening to a lot about what other people say about something and not actually doing the research yourself, because I'm not saying we're perfect. HBCUs are far from perfect, but you can get a lot of great, valuable things out of going to a HBCU and indulging in that experience. So, like I said, do your research,
Yeah,
figure out for yourself, is that something good for you? Is that going to benefit you?
yeah.
And not always listen to what other people have to say,
Yeah,
though.
don't go by the word of mouth thing. Just
Yeah,
get the
definitely.
computer, start looking up things, figure out what works for you.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
only know what works best for you. You know, people be trying to tell you do this, do that. Find out what works for you. Don't
Yeah.
forget the noise. Forget.
Not to discredit anybody's experience from themselves, but if that's all you have to say towards HBCUs and that's where all the negativity is coming
Oh yeah,
from,
you're
then
right.
you need to reevaluate.
Yeah. Well, Malaya, this was a great for one. This was a great way to
Yeah.
end Black History edition of Real Talks. This was like a great conversation, like for real. Like we touched on a lot.
I'm glad to be here.
I do appreciate you joining me on Real Talks. I do hope you're gonna like be on Real Talks again in the future, you know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
Like
down.
I really like we had a good conversation. Also for other people, if you want to be on Real Talks, you know, hit me up on Instagram. I got like all my contact information at the bottom in the bio or in the description. We can do in-person, virtual, it doesn't matter. Just if you have a topic you want to talk about, you know, we're going into March next month, which is actually mental health awareness. So we're gonna be touching on some topics about, you know, mental health, like for one, us being college students, you know,
Oh yeah.
COVID and all that. So those are going to be some good, interesting conversations. So I hope you guys tune in. But once again, Malaya, I do appreciate you coming out or, you know, coming out virtually. And that's the end of this Real Talks. And we are out, y'all.
Bye.